Sometimes I just go to wherever I'm close by
Right.
and then visit because for me, when I first came to China, I realized that there is a lot of new stuff that I've never came across in Canada. When it comes to vegetable, it changes, it varies quite a bit from season to season. There is like the DeAille the
Alright.
12 micro the 24 micro season in
Yeah,
China.
yeah.
And according to those micro season, you can find vegetables that changes every 2 weeks. This is very
pickles.
Chinese. Yes, this is like fermented bok choy, I believe.
Yeah.
And they're very salty.
Yeah.
So most people don't know how to process this properly.
She studied engineering at a top Canadian college and is a former contestant in a Miss Chinese beauty pageant. Yet, such is her love for baking that she became a professional chef, defying the advice of family and friends. Within 10 years, in 2018, she became the Chinese mainland's first female Michelin-star chef. In this episode of Icon, we hear the fascinating story of DeAille Tam.
I wanted to bring out that idea about a memory thing for the guest, and this is
okay.
actually one of the dishes I am going to do for the restaurant. Now, when we talk about spice, right?
Yeah.
China has so many different kinds.
Right,
You know, you have
right.
Sichuan spice, you have Hunan spice,
Yeah.
Anhui has a certain spice. Cantonese food even have a certain type of spice that have garlic flavor. When Chinese people talk about spicy food, it's very confusing.
Yeah.
Which one are you talking about? At the same time, besides just the spice, I do find that in every one of these spicy dish, there's an extra element
Right.
that reminds people that dish is closer to the one they found at home
Yeah.
versus they found in other parts of China. And so I took an inspiration from Hunan.
Yeah.
And as I was talking to a lot of people from that location, they keep telling me about another flavor, which is something I'm familiar with from Canada, smokiness. Smokiness.
This is what we're talking about?
Yes, this is what we're talking about. Hunan na rou,
Yeah.
Hunan
They're famous for that,
smoked
yeah.
cured pork. And every winter time, all the family, they will start taking raw pork and process it and hang it in the house. So
Yeah.
the entire room is filled with this aroma. Well, actually, I have some here. We have some dried bamboo. Just cut small bits. Let me just show you. We'll
Yeah.
take the skinnier ones to do
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
This one is specifically from Hunan, Hunan chilies that they grow locally. So there's a layer of skin on the outside that is very chewy.
Yeah.
When you apply heat, high heat to it, it will break apart and it will basically gives it an aroma, but at the same time cooks it without overcooking it to a point where it loses its original flavor. You see how there's a thick layer of fat and there's this
Yeah,
ring?
yeah.
This we call it the ring of love.
Yeah.
Because the thicker this gets, it means the longer time you spend actually smoking this piece of meat. So there's so much love put into it. So we call it the ring of love. There was once I met another really great chef. He says something very inspiring for me, which I still think about today, is that when you look at an ingredient, besides thinking about what you already know about it, think about what you don't know about it. Then all of a sudden it opens a new doorway for you to cook that ingredient differently. This is a chili sauce that I've made
Yeah.
for a long time because it requires fermentation.
Okay.
This is a smoked chili sauce. So I'm just gonna give this meat a bit of seasoning. Very important. I call this dish Hunan na rou. This is Wagyu beef from Australia. So I'm gonna give it a bit of peppers. Some very basic seasoning. I don't want any of the other, I don't want the smokiness to be hidden underneath all the seasoning. So I try to keep it as original form as possible. We're doing a chef table concept.
Okay.
And chef table meaning the guests sit directly in front of the people who make their food.
Yeah.
And throughout the process, we will have a lot of interaction. It's like a party, right? It's like
Yeah.
a house party where when whomever is cooking always are still interacting with their guests.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm actually going to add a little bit of this
Mouth-watering already.
This is actually also the laro fat. So
Here we are.
here we are. This is Hunan laro. When I first started in school for this culinary path, I did want to. And then after having ran several restaurants for other chefs and seeing the difficulty they go through, seeing all the complications behind the scene, I'm not gonna tell our audience that.
All the secrets.
There is a lot of stress. There
Yeah.
is a lot of difficulties. It's not just about having a stovetop, putting ingredients together, getting it cooked and sent. There's a lot more to running a restaurant. And when I saw all those effort the chefs have to put in, and at the end, the saddest part for me is that the chefs never got the time to spend on the actual thing that it's important, the food. Then I'm like, that's not what I love about this industry. I am in here because I want to cook. I want to work with ingredients. I want to play with flavors. When we eat, people associate flavors with where they come from or what they grew up with. That's a culture thing. My travel for the past year and a half, meeting people from different parts of China, I realized that using the exact same ingredient within a dish, people from different area can identify as different dishes. They were the identical ingredients, maybe a little bit more spice, some with a little bit more sugar, some with a little bit more salt. Small changes within it changes what people's opinion towards this dish and where they think it belongs. And that part of it, it's very intriguing for me because as I don't want to say I'm a foreigner, but as somebody who did not grow up in China, I couldn't see the difference in the beginning. I was
The subtleness.
they're all the same thing. It's like, this is tofu with meat sauce. This is tofu with meat sauce. This is tofu with meat sauce. And what makes this one mapo tofu while this one is like
家常豆腐.
yeah. And I was like, it's just so odd for me in the beginning. And then I start understanding there's a memory trigger in everything for people that comes from culture. I thought I couldn't in the beginning when I first started this project. Actually, I have started working on this idea about 3 years ago already. In the beginning, when I was talking to Simon about trying to pull this, like to try to add this kind of element into the dish, it seemed impossible. Until one day we made a dish, which is the one that you tasted earlier, the Hunan beef. That is something very authentic to people from Hunan. For them, when they smell that smokiness and they smell that spiciness in combination, now that's home flavor. I do sometimes think it might be, but I can't recall that memory, to be honest. Why I say that is actually my father ran a very small diner in Hong Kong when I was young. And I occasionally have small flashback of myself eating in that place of a certain type of food in a like diner setting, the Hong Kong diner setting. So there's the instant noodle, the toast with peanut butter, the milk tea, like small things. So I know I spent time there, but I'm not sure entirely if that was something that had built into me to have an interest in food. I realized my interest is when I had I had to be staying at the university. I had to live on my own. I had to cook for myself. And then I started making food and I started looking for recipes to make better dinners for myself and my classmates when we had to do study groups. And it's like a table full of like different dishes. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much. And it's the review I get from my friends, oh, this is amazing, this is good, they enjoyed it. And in that moment, I felt such a sense of achievement and accomplishment. It's a very quick reward
Yeah.
And I think that kind of adrenaline started the thinking about, hey, maybe I should be doing cooking instead. My parents always tell me, don't get into food, don't get into food. Because my dad had a very tough time,
Yeah.
running the diner. It's not an easy job. It's long hour. You're always in the kitchen, and it's not like the best environment. It's dirty. It's all men. I'm a female. For sure, they'd be like, never do restaurants, What I want to achieve is to be able to make food that is different from others. What I meant by different is not that I'm trying to make it weird or deter from tradition. What I meant by different is that it is moving with the world. It's like everything else, our technology, our lifestyle is improving. Food should improve with it. The quality of the ingredients should improve with it. The experience of it, of how we dine, should improve with it. I want to move food forward. And that's why I chose to stay in Shanghai, because I see a lot of potential in Chinese food. But sadly, a lot of them is hidden, is still staying in the very traditional old school way. I want to put that into the track of moving forward with the rest of the world and letting more people see with the same traditional foundation what it can become that suits the need and lifestyle of the current people, of the current era. Shanghai is a very diverse city. There's a lot of people coming in, not just from outside of China, but even within China. For me, being here, I get to absorb a lot of these ideas from the people without having to travel too much to start with. But at the end, I do still need to travel and get deeper into the knowledge. But at least there's a starting point for me. From here is a starting point for everything that I do. That's the way I see it. The most frustrating moment for me is learning about those memory trigger points. Because I didn't grow up here. A lot of people's habits, it's hard for me to understand when I first get here. As soon as I go eat any type of fine dining, it becomes work for me. Because instantly I get into the mode of trying to see the thought process behind this dish from the chef's perspective. I have experienced a lot in China, especially with the last restaurant that I worked for, my old chef. There has been a little bit of ups and downs. I had to face a lot of moments where I have to make decisions that I'm not particularly happy about, or it's not really my nature. I like to take care of people, and there's some times where I can only take care of so much. So I had to make some decisions to forego certain things. Moving non-stop, not being able to see my family for the past 2 years. A lot of things I had to forego in order to do this job. There's one thing that is not a sacrifice, because I've decided on this along with my partner Simon a long time ago, since we were together. But we won't have our own children. We've decided not to have our own children. We have made a lot of jokes about what we want to do in our future when we retire, and this one is kind of silly. We like dogs. We like pets. We have 2 dogs that we adopted, and then our thought is that one day when we are too old to cook, I don't think we're too old to cook, it's just we're too old to sustain a fine dining type of restaurant. We want to do something a little bit more casual, more freestyle, more relaxing. We want to open a joint barbecue pet shop. So we will have one side with dogs that we can adopt, or like stray dogs or whatever. We put them in, take care of them. And then beside that, we'll have a barbecue shop where we could just do very easy grilled, charcoal grilled meats, steaks, briskets, and things like that. And then all those bones and scraps will be used to feed the animals. And then every time when I feel upset or stressed, I could go play with the animals.
Wow.
And then every time I want to cook, I could be in the other side cooking. Between Simon and I, we could just kind of keep changing between two sides.